Hey everyone, welcome back to Citywide Blackout, your home for music, movies, and more. I'm your host, Max Bowen. In this episode, I'm talking with solo artist Clare Cunningham and her new project, Heart of Mine, which is releasing its first single on July 3rd. We talk about releasing new projects in the pandemic age and her plans for the rest of the year. Clare's based out of Nashville, but originally from Ireland, and we go into all the places she's played over the years, which covers a lot of spots. She is originally from Ireland, now lives in Nashville. That's a heck of a jump. I'm talking to singer-songwriter Clare Cunningham. Clare, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good, living the dream. How about yourself?
Getting there. Yeah, it's been a crazy COVID time, but yes, I mean, we can only do what we can do. So going with the flow and learning to live in the present moment, and now going forward, evaluating my career a little closer, I guess.
Exactly. Well, you've definitely got some big news coming up pretty soon, because actually on July 3rd, you're going to be doing the first of 3 single releases, and actually July 3rd is also my birthday, so gift to me.
Happy birthday.
Thank you much. I'm a July kid. This single called Heart of Mine, and now this is part of a 3-single release, as I mentioned. Also, all being done through the legendary RCA Studios. How did you come to work with them?
So Eddie Gore and Justina Kelly are the 2 producers over there. So we have a mutual friend, Adam Dredd is his name, and who a lot of people in Nashville know. Basically, I think it was 3 years ago, I came to visit Nashville just for the first time and was introduced to Eddie. My sister, Laura Cunningham, had already known Eddie, and she had been planning on possibly moving to Nashville herself because she was in the music industry and she's in the film production world too. So I'd already heard his name, and then we got to meet for the first time when I visited. And then, yeah, when I decided, because I go over a bunch between Massachusetts and Nashville because my sister's over there and I'm sponsored by them. So yeah, that's how it all came about. They really liked me and liked what I did, and now we're getting to work together. I'm just blessed.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, RCA Studios is definitely the name for music. Do you feel like this is hitting like a new career high for you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've had so many. I feel like I've lived a lot of different lives musically, because I've already done the whole big record deal, toured all over Europe with a band called Thunder Mother when I was fronting that in Sweden. So for me now, this is definitely the biggest, I guess, forthcoming project that I have in my solo career, for sure. Yes. And I'm very, very blessed. I love it.
How did you come to live in Nashville? Because as I mentioned, you are originally from Ireland. What happened to get you over there?
I'm on what you call an artist visa. It's the O1, which means nothing to anybody here. But basically, as an artist or a writer, you can't just move to America. So you have to be sponsored, and I'm sponsored by Yellow Productions, which is a film production company. So I'm actually pretty much spend my time between Nantucket and Nashville. In order to get inspiration for writing, Nantucket is quite small. So I've been able to, do a lot of traveling and pretty much move and maneuver between the 2 places. But Nashville was just somewhere that always struck me as somewhere that could be a little more friendlier and open. And I know the people here are great. And it's Music City. So, it just kind of made more sense to kind of split my time between here and there. I love LA too. And there's a great scene there. I just find it a little more, a lot of people say too, as inviting, so, but everybody makes their own. So, but Nashville being Music City, just, it kind of made sense,
Oh yeah, definitely. I've had several friends who also do music, and they've gone to Nashville because they say it's just the kind of place where you can just go, walk down the street, have your guitar on your shoulder, and someone will say, "Hey, you want to play?" And they'll get the chance to work with some legendary artists. They'll get the chance to play at some new venues. It's just this it's just this like musical playground, and everyone's going there these days. Like I think it used to be that everyone went to New York or LA, and now these days everyone's like going to like Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, it is, like you said, musical, it's like a playground. It really is. And you've got so many amazing musicians at hand here, some of which are going to be on this new record. And I mean, like, it's incredible, the talent that's here. And if you want to be in whatever field you're in, surround yourself by those that are, going to bring that out of you better, or be with those who, you're not going to, like, if you're, I don't know, to give you any example of, like, it's somebody once said, like, if you're going to be a car insurance salesperson or whatever, go to where the best place is to sell car. Like, you want to be in the hub, basically. So here is definitely where the hub is, as far as that's concerned, for sure. So, I mean, they're just walking around. Like, the greatest musicians known to mankind are just, like, walking around and jumping in, playing, getting up on stages. I mean, it's just super inspiring.
Oh, yeah. What are some of your favorite places to play in Nashville?
Got to play the Bluebird one time. Where else? There's a lot of great places. They're not always well known. Like there's the whole Broadway thing, but I don't do that. But I mean, you've got venues such as the Listening Room, Bluebird Cafe. You've got Mercy Lounge. You have Belcourt Taps is one of my favorites, actually. It's like a family unit in there, but I play all over. Like I travel a lot and play different like events and festivals and stuff like that. So. But yeah, Nashville has some splendid little venues that like not even anybody might be even aware of. And they're always usually the best because not every tourist has heard of them either, it leaves it so that it's more authentic,
I definitely gonna get down to Nashville sometime, and it's definitely on my like bucket list of cities to check out.
Oh yes, you'll have to. Well, once everything resumes.
Yeah, exactly. once like the world decides it wants to like stop ending, I'll definitely be on the first flight down there. Now, speaking of which, of course, I know that basically everything has just ground to a halt in terms of shows and so forth, and things are slowly starting to reopen. But I know that live music is probably one of the last things that's going to come back. But how has this like impacted you? Did you have to cancel a lot of shows or tours?
Everything got cancelled. Yeah, and still is ongoing. I've even got an awards show that just got cancelled now. So,
jeez.
I mean, us musicians, it has affected, of course, every single person, of course. But this industry is taking the biggest hit, really, because you can't plan anything, and if anything has been planned, it's continuing to get postponed. So, it's definitely. It's a hard time for musicians and alike because you really can't plan on anything right now, and any shows that you may have that may go forward, you're looking at half capacity. So a lot of artists are having to pull out because it's not even worth doing the show because there's not going to be anybody there, and just as things started to look like they were going back to normal, now we have all the riots, so there's curfews and venues and places are continuing to cancel. So it's just a play it by ear at the minute,
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I've seen a lot of musicians do is they've gone into the virtual show territory with like Instagram Live or Zoom out of their homes, out of their backyards. Have you like gotten into this?
Oh yeah, I was doing it for all of COVID, and it was a strange transition. It's weird when you're singing into your computer and there's no claps and there's no energy and you get this like weird feedback. Something like it's like the internet, I think, just was like, what is happening right now? So people were not getting the best sound quality out of it. And but yeah, I still have a few things that have been booked in like that. But I kind of started to like veer off it a bit because it's just, I'm just not getting the same feeling. It was good while it lasted, but I think because people are starting to go back to work and stuff, the online thing is continuing, but it was more so definitely in the first like month or two. It was, everybody was at home, had nothing to do, and so it was. And a lot of people reached out and said how much it helped them and how grateful they were. So, I'm just grateful that we could, assist people in their like entertainment values, I guess.
Yeah, one thing that I think people have been doing a lot of during these times are either reading or listening to music.
Yes. That's where music is such a powerful tool, because I think, I find it very therapeutic, and I think a lot of people, whether you're musical or not, music makes the world go round. It's the very nature and nurture of everything. Everything we do is surrounded by music. Like, if you take music away from the world, I would love to see a world with no music, because every movie needs music. Every time somebody gets married, or even, unfortunately, even with funerals, like, music is a big part of every situation. And I think people forget that people have to create that music. And, there's a whole world out there that, we wouldn't be where we are today without it. And that's not me being biased because I'm a musician, but I truly do believe that, music does make the world go round, and it has helped a lot of people, especially now with this whole COVID. So, and it's helped us musicians too. Like, I personally, being able to still write and actually like feel has been a blessing too,
Oh, yeah. Now, have you been able to get some more like music written up during this time? I know it's so stressful that some folks just say, forget about it, I can't really focus on it.
And time like where I wasn't really, writing as much as I was normally doing, because I was writing maybe 7 days a week, and I kind of had to just take a step back. And, in order to write, I find you have to feel. And so if you're not feeling it, you don't force it, because then it's not coming from a place of intention or of feeling. And so I just didn't pressure myself to feel like I had to. I did get some stuff written, and actually a song that I did write, actually, a lot of people have been like, wow, that's a really great song. And I'm like, well, thank you. It literally was written in 10 minutes. I was just on my bed one night and I just started flowing out. I just went with it. But yeah, those moments don't always happen. So being creative, you can't force creativity. If it's there and you've got it and it's flowing, then, it's a feel thing a lot of the time. So, I definitely took a bit of a break, and I needed it though, like to go within, because if you go within, you'll never go without. And for me personally, it was definitely a great time to just be left to my own devices without there being too much distraction, because we all live in a world that has, distractions in it, and sometimes that can take away from creativity too. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
it gives you the space now going forward to be able to write better, I guess. So yeah.
When you write music, do you usually go to a certain kind of setting? Do you have a certain time of day or place that you find you're most keyed into your own creativity?
Well, it depends on the situation. If I'm a lot of writing, we have what's called co-writing, and we write with other people. It depends. If I'm writing with a producer and I'm at the producer's place, we're there, we have the tracks running, it's in their house. If I'm just writing lyrics myself or music, then I can do that from wherever. And sometimes it's through a conversation with somebody. I'll have to stop the conversation and say, hey, I'm so sorry, I need to write this down. Then it could be another case where if I'm writing with intention with a publishing company, you're writing for a film production, and that's what I do as well. That's my main job on my visa, is writing tracks for, these films or short real estate things. It's so variable. There's no just, I don't get up in the morning and say, I'm going to write between these hours, because again, that's forced. What we do is we schedule in writing sessions, they're called. So I was just in one right now. So for the last 4 hours, I'm sitting with guys and we're writing a song. But yeah, it's I'd love to say, yes, I get up at 9 a.m. and I write between 11 and 1. It's just not like that. Every song and every situation is so variable, depending on the intention behind it, I guess. So, which makes it more of an interesting lifestyle,
Oh, yeah, yeah. You just never know when creativity is going to strike. And I know some people, I know some folks who will carry around, who will always make sure that they have, like, their phone with them, or they make sure they have like a pen and paper, so that if they have an idea for a song, they don't forget about it later on when they,
Oh yeah, because you'll never remember it if it's not got caught in the moment. So that's why, even like I said, if I'm having a conversation with somebody and they say something and it's a good line, or I think that could be a good concept, it has to be written down there and then. Or you're half asleep, falling, drifting off, as many musicians do, and then this idea comes to you. It's like, no, you gotta wake up, or you gotta get out of bed and make sure you get that idea down, because we always say it gets lost in the clouds somewhere.
Yes, it does. We talked earlier about how everything has really changed as of late with the COVID and the shutdowns. So given this, will you be doing any kind of like online release show or like a virtual release party for your upcoming singles?
Good question. I haven't really thought about that. Well, because everywhere is opening here and has been, I think I can actually probably do a physical one, but there will be a lot of online things around it, I guess. But I guess I haven't really. There's just been, because of everything going on, it's just, again, it's really hard to plan anything, because if you start planning and then try to organize it, the likelihood is it may get cancelled. So I guess for now, I'm just going to have to release it. There will be like videos to go with them. There'll be a lot of press around it. So ideally, yeah, it'd be great to do a party, but the likelihood of, because venues are still at half cap, and it's just, there are people who don't want to go out still because they're afraid, and so you just run the risk of over planning something for it to maybe fall through. And I'm always of the positive mindset that no, we'll make it work, but I think the world has control over everything right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, there's not much I can plan at the minute, but as far as online and getting it actually released out, that won't change. So
Gotcha.
That's at least lucky. The song will still get released, things will still go as according to plan. But as far as a release party goes, probably at this moment in time, it's not.
All right, then in that case, let us talk about working your music for film and TV. I did see in your bio that you actually have a song placement in one of the Lionsgate movies. How did one get into this field? How did you manage to transition from doing music to doing music for the small and the big screen?
Well, usually in any normal circumstance, it's all networking and it's potluck sometimes. I just happened to be performing one night, and the movie producer was in the building, heard me, really liked me, and then followed up and said, hey, we've got a sequel to this movie that we did. Would you like to submit some music? And I said, sure. So I did my research and then wrote the song according, because sometimes you can pitch and write songs that are already done that will actually like go into the movie there and then, but sometimes you have to actually write for the actual movie at hand. So that's what I did for that. And then you have other so I have what is called a first cut in the music industry. That means a big artist takes a song and releases it, and that's going to be happening at Christmas. So T. Graham Brown, he's a big country artist, along with B.B. King's daughter Claudette. We wrote a Christmas song last August. A great friend of mine, Rhonda Funk, and Corey Lee Barker. That's part of a publishing company that we wrote that with. So they were able to pitch it. That's the only way you can really get into film production and things like that, is if you have an in with TV and sync, it's called. It's synchronization. So, and then obviously on my visa with Yellow Productions, my family. So that's how we work together.
A buddy of mine, his dream is to someday score for film and television. It's actually what he went to school for. And
wow.
I definitely hear every so often about a musician. They'll have their music used in a commercial, or they'll get to do the soundtrack for a video game or some indie film. So you definitely see a lot about musicians who are kind of branching out, doing this kind of work a lot.
You kind of have to, because if you only strike for one avenue, then look what happened with COVID. If you were only a performer and not even a writer, then it affected you even more. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the music industry there's a lot more to it than just, being on stage and singing. And some people are solely just writers, some are artists, some are both. There's a whole world of even writing songs for gaming companies, for meditation video. It's just endless. Music is, it's so widely, it's just more than what you just hear on the radio,
Oh yeah. You definitely got to be able to diversify what you can do, because it's like I said, if you stick to kind of one thing, then that's the only income stream you have. And if something happens, you can't do it for a while, such as a global pandemic, then you're just totally screwed.
Exactly. Or yes, pandemic, or you break an arm, or you do I've lost my voice before. What did that happen? That meant when I was in Sweden, I suffered a lot from laryngitis. And so not only could I not do it, we had the whole band, we couldn't even fly I think we were going to Italy because I couldn't sing. Everybody got affected. Oof. So that was a lot of pressure though. But I mean, it can be just simple things like that. You always have to be able to have somewhat of I'm not calling this plan B, because it's not plan B, because you should only ever have plan A. But you should always be able to have other scenarios and situations you can delve into within your career, that if something should happen like that you can still work in your field.
Now, you've talked a couple times before about some of the different bands you've been in. I know that one of them was called Smokin' Aces. The other was called Thunder Mother. Yeah. And I got to say, Thunder Mother is the best band name I've heard in a long time. That is an awesome band name.
So I didn't make it up, but it's so funny because people either were of your thinking, and they were like, that's the best name ever, or some people just pulled aside and like, that is just the crappiest name we have ever heard of.
Jeez.
So it's all opinion,
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Tomato, I guess.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with anything in life, not everybody's going to like you, and you're not going to like everything. So once you're, content within yourself and your own music, then people will follow that, hopefully. But yeah, Thunder Mother. There was actually before I left, we had talked about, because we had a lot of merchandise, and we were on about maybe getting Thunderwear instead of underwear.
Oh, that's perfect. Yes. Oh God.
I know, right?
I would have gotten some of that. Come on.
Endless. Yeah. Oh gosh, I mean, yeah. It had its perks in that respect.
Sure.
And obviously the whole logo and everything. It was, strategically, marketability was great on that front.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, what happened that you decided to kind of make the change from working with these bands to being a solo artist? Well,
with Smokin' Aces, which was the band I started in the UK, I had that for 5 years, and I thought that was my go-to. I had, I was settled in the UK. I thought I was all set. And then Thunder Mother, I had received a phone call. They had found me on YouTube. I'd only just put up some videos a month prior. And that kind of shifted and changed my life overnight, literally. I kind of spent the year and a half going over from the UK over to Sweden. And I decided then, okay, it's time to sell my house and move abroad and give this a real good shot. Obviously got signed with the label. We were with Warner at the time, and then did 2 albums. It was honestly the best years of my life, but it was hard. There was living out of a suitcase for almost 5 years. And I promise you, I was living out of a suitcase because I wasn't home ever. Like, while the other girls had other jobs, I was still touring, doing my solo thing too. Really did. I was some of the worst health problems I've ever had was just due to, and I actually was exhausted. So I was hospitalized with exhaustion, and that's why I don't use that term very lightly anymore. Because once you've been there, you know, it was bad. And I don't know, the joy for me wasn't in it anymore. There was a little bit of internal problems. You know, we kind of put out a post, but we had to do it in, you know, with integrity. So I've always kept that. But yeah, it wasn't just me who left. It was 4 others who left. So I've always told people if it takes a scientist to work out that one, well. But, I mean, it was awesome. It gave me everything I needed to go forward. And I have nothing but the fondest of memories. But yeah, I started to realize that, you know, I need to now look after me and my career and do what it is I've always set out to do, because it was by means of default that I ended up being even in Thunder Mother. So when I finally then felt, okay, I'm ready for America, I put the proper actions in motion, and it literally took a year to get the visa I was on, you know, with different lawyers and getting together the packages, and it's no joke.
I imagine there's a lot of musicians listening to this now wondering, okay, how do I get this visa? How can I get this? What's the process for a musician to get an artist visa to, you know, to live in another country?
Well, again, there's a multitude of visas. So for Canadians, even getting to America, there's a different visa. But basically the one I'm on is the top tier. It's basically you have to have sold a number of records worldwide. You have to have national acclaim. You have to have so many awards. Like, there's a lot that goes with this one, that not just a typical musician wanting to be in America can go on. But there's other options should you not have those things in place. You know, you can go on temporary visas. There's a length of, you know, my arm of different visas you can get. So every visa is tailored towards the artist. This visa is pretty much the one that any touring musician that's usually signed comes in on, because it's a 3-year, so you don't have to continue to, you know, renew it every year. So it's really the longevity of this one is great. But yeah, it's the harder one to get, so it takes a little bit longer to put together, but it's definitely like worth it. But the first and foremost, if you are from Europe and you want to, because I have a lot of people reach out to me like weekly about it, you need to have a good lawyer who specializes in this field in order to get a package and get it together. And then, of course, you need a sponsor. You can't just, your talent and your record sales are one thing, but you need to actually have employment. So somebody in America has to attest that they need you more than an American. There's a lot involved. My thinking in life, if you want something bad enough, it will happen and you will get it. You just have to, you know, believe in it, trust in it, and, you know, persevere through. That's basically
exactly
the best advice I would give to anybody.
Okay. What was the best and hardest part about living in America once you first got here?
Usually I've been over and back a bunch, you know, so I guess it's usually the tax system is obviously different. You guys drive in the different, but I had already lived in Sweden where we drove on that side of the road and that side of the car. Just different foods, you know, it's like getting used to and different people's humors and different, like, there's a lot. I guess I've lived so many places all over the world. America has been my easiest though, because you guys speak the same language. Like I lived in countries where they don't speak my language, and that's a whole like other thing to get, you know, over. So at least in America, I'm more understood, although people think I'm Canadian for some reason.
What?
Oh, you've no idea. Canadian,
What?
Australian, British. I've got Spanish before. I was like, okay.
But you very obviously have an Irish accent.
I wish people would hear it.
That's...
They don't for some reason. And I don't know why. But then as soon as of course, they hear it. They tell me they're Irish. I'm like, but you didn't even hear the accent, so I don't really know.
That's crazy. Because saying, "Oh, you want to see from Canada because the way you sound." Wow, that's way off.
Canada's the number one guess. I do see why maybe people do, because of the way I pronounce an R, and it's just the way it's. I think when people start hearing and talk, like in the conversation, that they'll get used to it. Or I could be talking to somebody for ages and they're like, "Oh wait, you have an accent." I'm like, no shit, Sherlock.
Really? Just picking up on that now, is you?
The best one was somebody asked me, was I from Ireland, Tennessee? I told them yes. And I left.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yep. Move along.
Yep.
Oh,
Next.
my God.
Yeah.
Now, do you think you're going to be sticking around in Nashville, or are you still eyeing some other, perhaps new ports of call?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm based here and because of COVID, but traveling is something I do all the time. You can't really, as a musician, just stay in one spot. Yeah, I do plan to do a lot more. I just guess we've been grounded to a halt right now. But I definitely want to play. There was the plan to play in way more states and do some more tours. But yeah, until everything kind of gets back up and running, I'll be here. But Nantucket and Nashville are great places, that's for sure. Have you been to Nantucket?
Oh, yeah. So I actually grew up on the South Shore. So love the area, Situate, Plymouth, the Cape. This is it's all my turfs.
So gorgeous.
Oh, I love it there. It's beautiful.
It's just, it's a whole different world almost to somewhere like here, You
mentioned earlier about having traveled all over the place. Is there one spot in particular that you have not been to that you've always wanted to go to?
Because I'm very spiritual, and I was meant to possibly go in October. I doubt it'll happen. Like Bali or Hawaii and places that are a lot more kind of in tune with, a holistic kind of, more of a spiritual kind of places. They definitely speak to my soul a lot. Now, I have been to China, Hong Kong though, but it wasn't. I'd love to see a little bit more of Asia and the Asian culture. I think, they just have everything down to a T, with their diet, with their well-being and their thinking. So for sure, that's definitely, but Bali is on my list, to do some kind of a spiritual kind of retreat. Yeah, I've been to every part of Europe. So, I mean, I've been intrigued to see Japan maybe. But I mean, Hawaii is definitely on that list too. I'm just intrigued by it and the beauty of it. But anywhere that has just that kind of Bali, for sure. I think it's number one right now.
Nice. Well, Clare, it's been absolutely awesome talking to you. Definitely wish you luck with the single releases. And folks, if you want to learn more about her, and you definitely do, you can go to Clare, that's Clare, CunninghamMusic.com. Find her on Spotify or your other usual music streaming platforms. Look for the new single, Heart of Mine, released on July 3rd. Clare, thanks again.
Hey, thank you always, and for the support. And please, anybody who wants to reach me or find out more, please just pop on my website, and there'll be plenty of things coming anyway. So stay tuned, as they say.
Hey, what's up? This your girl Molly McCoy, and you're listening to Citywide Blackout, your home for the best in music, movies, and a whole lot more.
All right, folks, that's it for the show. Big thanks to Clare for joining me. You can follow the show on Facebook under Citywide Blackout, Twitter and Instagram under Citywide Max, and check out citywide.blogspot.com. Listen to the show on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and every Saturday at 10 p.m. on Boston Free Radio. To close things out, I've got 2 songs from Clare, Carry Me, followed by Grey Lady. As always, keep those ears open.
For all the times that I feel down, can feel you all around. I hear the voice of your ghost. I know you're there. I know you care.
She's warm open in the streets along with dreams, but you never wanna wake up to reality. Fall through the sand, build your own castle in this faraway land where anything can happen. Stepping out, feel the wind upon your face. Lines of people in a bubble, there really ain't no better place. Simple living and a good feeling, knowing never needing more than these blue skies on the horizon. Can't explain it, there's something in the air, takes your breath away. Ain't nothing else you can compare. Cause I'm touchdowns, you bring smiles to every face. That's when you know you're on the great, great lady. It's got some sort of spell that always leaves you wanting more. And soon as you've left it, and then you let She's warm and open, and the streets are lined with dreams, but you never wanna wake